the Astronomer CEO and his co-worker slash Cuddle Buddy, who were both caught on the Kiss Cam and the Coldplay concert, have both resigned from the company. Now, there is talk of them exploring the possibility of filing a lawsuit against the Coldplay band. Now, I will say I find it kind of odd they're spending their time exploring a lawsuit instead of, exploring trying to find a new job or exploring trying to get their houses in order. However, that does beg the question, if they are considering filing a lawsuit against Coldplay, do they have a valid cause of action? So please join me in a legal deep dive in the case of the CEO versus Coldplay and the Kiss Cam. What's good, people? It's actually been a little while since I shot my last podcast. The month of July is kind of tough. You probably don't know this, but it actually takes a full team for me to put these things together. So 4th of July, holiday weekend, there's me, there's Mike, there's Drew, there's Chloe. Everybody's got families, everybody's got stuff, and it was just hard to kind of coordinate for the month of July. So we had actually agreed that we weren't going to shoot one in July. But then, as fate would have it, I did a court TV appearance, and as most of you probably know, one of the many hats that I wear is I'm a guest legal analyst on Court TV. And there's no real structure or schedule as to when I'm going to be on. It's kind of random depending on what I have going on, my availability. And so I was actually on Court TV, and the last time I was on Court TV was the actual exact date and time that the Diddy verdict was read. So couldn't really have planned that any better. So my last Court TV appearance, I was able to give my unscripted, spontaneous comments and thoughts on the Diddy verdict. And actually I felt like I was talking a little bit too fast. I kind of got excited. I had all this stuff I wanted to kind of get out, but I have the Court TV producer in my ear in the microphone saying, "Okay, wrap it up. You only got so many seconds left." And I'm just trying to get all this stuff out while I got time. So I was talking a little bit fast. But the good news from that is that it actually gave me some great content in place of a scripted podcast where I could, drop the complete video of my Court TV appearance discussing Diddy verdict. So that actually worked out pretty well. And before we get into our deep dive, do me a favor, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the podcast so you always get my latest updates. All right, now let's get into our legal analysis. So assuming the CEO and the Cuddle Buddy came to talk to me about a potential lawsuit against Coldplay. The first thing that I would say, the good news is they've got a defendant with the ability to pay. Coldplay is a band that's worth, I'm certain hundreds of $millions of dollars. So if we have a valid lawsuit and we sue them, we know that if we get a big fat judgment for a lot of money, they've got the ability to pay. That's much better than suing, some band that plays out of their parents' garage. I mean, they're not going to have any money. Sue them if you want to. You're not getting any money. All you're doing is practicing. So that is the good news, and that's in any lawsuit. You want to make sure your defendant has the ability to pay a judgment to make it worth your while to sue them. Next up, something else I would think is that I think Coldplay, if there was a valid lawsuit, I do believe they would have some incentive to settle this case. Now, just so we're clear, I'm certain if a lawsuit was filed, there'd be a lot of people on social media making fun of the couple, saying they should take responsibility, social media backlash, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Whatever. You always get that with social media. My thought is Coldplay, they don't really want that distraction hanging over their concerts. That's just not good for business. I mean, businesses do not like distractions. And they don't want people thinking about going to their concerts, worrying, somebody might record me, drinking a beer, smoking a joint, being inappropriate. And the next thing I know, that's going viral. And now I'm losing my job. Now it's caused me problems at home, my friends, my family. And you really don't want that chilling effect when you're going to a concert. You want people thinking, hey, I can go to a concert and have a good time. I'm not worried about it. That's why you go to concerts. So I do think that, Coldplay, again, they do not want that cloud, that distraction hanging over their concert. They want people to associate going to their concerts with, hey, listen to some music, having a good time, not potentially losing things, that you've worked for. Because that is our society. I mean, you can have somebody that lives an exemplary life and does great in their career, has a great family, and in one moment they exercise what appears to be some bad judgment or does something inappropriate. Somebody captures on video, and everything you worked for your entire life, gone. So I do believe that's a legitimate concern, and I do think that Coldplay, if there was a valid claim, they'd want to shut this one down and pay some money. Now, as I look at this case, if they were trying to hire me, I would think the most obvious potential cause of action would be defamation. And basically defamation is when a person knowingly makes a false statement about another person, and that false statement causes harm to that person's reputation. That's defamation. So in analyzing that, let's go ahead and take a look at the video and hear what Chris Martin says.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
So when you look at the video, you can clearly hear Chris Martin, the lead singer for Coldplay, say, hey, you're either having an affair or very shy. So at this point, we have our false statement, assuming they were not having an affair, of course. Now, the next prong of defamation is showing harm to reputation based on the false statement. That's fairly easy in this case because after this came out, they both lost their jobs, pretty high-powered, high-paying jobs for a well-known company. So that's the easy part, showing harm as a result of the false statement. So let's talk about the defenses that Coldplay would have, because whenever I'm thinking about filing a lawsuit, I not only look at our case, but I look at, the defenses. How would the defendant defend this case? That's kind of part of the job. I mean, of course, in any defamation case, the big defense is truth, that the statement was not false. And I can guarantee you that, if the CEO and this Cuddle Buddy, if they sue Coldplay, they're going to get some high-powered lawyers, they're going to get some investigators, they're going to get some social media data mining experts and IT people, and they are going to go through every bit of garbage, every email, every text, every social media post, anything on all their devices, every credit card receipt, every check account charge. They're going to go down the rabbit hole of the garbage of their life to see if they can find any evidence to indicate they were having an affair. And I can guarantee you they will go back years to look for this information. And they will talk to friends, they will talk to former co-workers, they will turn over every single rock to see if there's any evidence to indicate they were actually having an affair. And I would tell these clients, like I tell all my clients, you know what's out there. Whether you tell me or not, and I'm not asking you, whether you admit it or not, you know what's out there. And if you think that you can download some program or app that'll scrub your hard drive on your PC and scrub your phone, do not think they will not find it. I cannot tell you how many times I've told clients that, hey, if it's out there on your device, you will find it, they will find it, and they will look me in the eye and tell me there's nothing out there. And when we got to turn that device over and have it analyzed, not only do they find evidence that my client downloaded software to try to scrub their phone, they find all the data they were trying to hide. Now, that being said, even if things, lined up perfectly from an evidentiary standpoint on my end, I think the case still has some uphill battles. I think number one, that the Coldplay lead frontman, he didn't specifically say you two are having an affair. He made a joke, a spontaneous statement that was clearly humorous in response to a situation where they're openly cuddling and being romantic. I think that a reasonable person would assume they were a couple of some sort based on how they were interacting. So I think they would have an uphill battle. However, I gotta call it like I see it. I still think if they wanted to pursue this, there will be some money here. I'm certain that the Coldplay band has some type of insurance policy or liability policy that covers negligence on their part during their concerts. I think that if I was representing the CEO of the Cuddle Buddy, I'd try to get the defendant, Chris Martin, to just admit or make a statement that the statement was not intentional and perhaps he was negligent, because typically insurance policies have exclusions for intentional conduct. And often what I will do is I will get the defendant to just admit negligence as opposed to being intentional. So that way the coverage kicks in, because if the conduct was intentional, then there's no insurance coverage and the defendant's got to pay out of pocket, or the defense or insurance company won't even cover the claim. So you get them to admit negligence, the insurance company pays a little bit of money, and it goes away. That's the best way to do it. I think that'd be a good result for the band because, again, they don't need the attention of their concerts. They don't need the distraction. The CEO, he's not going to get a ton of money. He get a little bit of something and can move on with his life. And I think that'd be a great result for everybody. And that way he's not going through a trial. He's not having the garbage truck backed up to the courthouse and spending time in depositions, answering questions. I mean, his wife will be deposed. He didn't want that. I mean, she'd be a witness to the relationship. He didn't want that drawn into it. So I think everybody gets a little bit of something, and I think that'd be a good result. So what do you think? Do you think the CEO and the Cuddle Buddy should file a lawsuit and try to get some money? Or do you think they should just kind of tuck their tail between their legs, get back to their life and wait for the duck the scuds and kind of wait for all this to blow over? Either way, do me a favor, post your comments and call it like you see it. That's it. Well, that's all I got, but I do appreciate you taking the time to join me on this legal deep dive. I think it's always fun to discuss these topics, tell you what I think, and get your feedback. I would really appreciate it if you took the time to like the video, subscribe to the podcast, and also I'd appreciate you sending me your comments so we can discuss the topics you want to hear about. That's it.